This review of strategic marketing is to help reacquaint you with basic concepts of marketing, to help you with your project and working with your client in the marketing project, your research project. So these are areas of opportunity, but also to fix in your mind that this is a means to an end. And risk and return, we want to mitigate risk. That's probably the biggest reason why we do market research, because we want to make decisions based upon findings that are actionable. So pay attention. Let's go through this. So that you've got external analysis. Again, this would be before you actually interview your client, or maybe during, or just slightly after, so you understand the business best. But what's the political environment like? This is macro environment now. The economic situation that might affect or be influence on their market, their target market, their competitive advantage or lack thereof. What are the social conditions? Are they changing? Probably the biggest one for most businesses is the technological changes that are out there. Again, we can't control any of these, but we'd better be aware of all of these, because it will either directly or indirectly affect us and how we can compete, and sometimes in a dramatic fashion. Consider, for example, technology. People used to rent DVDs or VHS tapes to watch movies. They still do that, but they don't use that media. Now the technology has changed immensely, and it's rendered blockbuster video and the like completely extraneous. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's maybe one somewhere, but you'd be hard pressed to find a video rental store. You can buy videos, but even then, that's becoming more rare. So consider all these as you think ahead for your project. So what are the competitive conditions? Porter's 5 forces model, and I did provide a link in the course as to a quick MBA, which is a really good one for you. But here's a way to understand the actual market that they exist in or try to compete in. What's the supplier power? And again, I'm not going to define all these. You can look it up. Quick MBA is a quick way to do it, but these are areas of interest for sure. Threat of substitutes might probably be the biggest one. Is there highly price sensitive? Are there substitutes available? If what you serve or what you sell can be replaced by something cheaper, you'd better be aware of that and take that into account. Buyer power, degree of rivalry, and so on. Here's where you come in, MBA training. This is why they hire MBAs, or at least they're supposed to. Should I even consider entering this market after doing this external analysis, the macro analysis? And you need to be able to answer that question and say, do I offer a competitive advantage, and are we able to sustain this advantage, or will we be crushed? That's the bottom line. Am I entering a market where I can compete and win or not? So this is a redundant question. I'll answer it for you. But when would you compete with Walmart? You could, and maybe instinctively say never, but Walmart wasn't always the number one retailer. I mean, for sure, they're concerned with Amazon and Aldi and other companies that are in sort of the same business. But you'd compete with Walmart when you can win, when you can beat them at their own game or something different or something better. That's when you compete with Walmart. Otherwise, stay away. Porter's generic strategies. This is all that there is to choose from. This is it. You're either a low-cost alternative. The reason people buy from you, the advantage in the vertical column, low cost, you sell it cheaper, or you've got a unique product that is not tied to cost because it's worth more. Well, then you're forced into one direction or another, either a cost leadership strategy, again, you're buying their love, they buy from you because you're cheap, or a differentiation strategy. We're different, better in some shape, manner, or form. And then the scope, narrow or broad, just depends on the market you've identified, but you're going to absolutely want to do that. Most businesses reside somewhere in between those 2 points to an extreme. Here's your chance to shine again. Once we decide if and how we will compete, we can then begin our target market analysis, choice, and planning. This is where the research can really help out. Consider how we might segment a given market so we're able to identify where and how we can bring our competitive advantage to bear and defeat competition. We're looking for targets of opportunity. So identifying this can be highly advantageous to our business plan. If you know the answer to these questions, you can be informed and make informed decisions about the 4 Ps: product, price, place, promotion. This is the key question. Who's our target market? Are we trying to describe it, or are we trying to identify new markets? What makes them unique? How can we differentiate them? And keep in mind there are B2B and B2C considerations. Again, if you're not familiar with those two terms, you'll probably want to make yourself familiar. Decisions that follow. So we choose a target market. Well, how are we going to position ourselves? Are we going to be a premium seller or a cost-conscious seller? So, the target market is positioning is where do we want them to see us when we evaluate their offer. So people go to Walmart basically because they're positioned as a low-cost alternative. Kmart is a thing of the past. They decided to compete directly with Walmart, and they were crushed. Target, however, who was a discounter, said we're going to reposition ourselves. Now, they sell similar things as Walmart does, but the target market is definitely a more upscale target market. That's what positioning is all about. And can we position if we need to increase margins? We can, but it's difficult to do, and it takes a lot of money and time, but not impossible. Brands and branding. A reputation is going to be created whether you intend to or not. A brand is like a reputation. Each of you are a brand. You have a reputation where you work. You're known by your, I'm sure, high work ethic and quality of work and reliability and thoroughness and such. That's what a brand is. A brand is more than a name. The name only means something when it's attached to customer evaluation. Then, product, features. So this is how you remember. Product is features and benefits. Well, which ones? Well, which ones fit or matter to our target market? It doesn't matter if it's a service or physical. Price, what value does the target market have to give up in order to possess our product? That cost structure is immaterial to the buyer's perspective. They're only concerned with what they're willing to or need to pay. So pricing is a sensitive matter for sure. You can ask whatever you want. It's like selling a house or a car. You can ask whatever price, but ultimately the market's going to decide what it's worth. Where and how you're going to distribute? Place. Maybe you're looking for, this would be a research question. Where should I move a retail location, or where should I open a new location? That'd be fertile ground for research. And then promotion. Where and how. How do we inform or influence the decision makers who choose my offer? And so the question is, what are their media habits? Okay, if you want to know who's watching a show or a sporting event or whatever, consider the brands that are advertised. That'll give you insight into that. And remember, all margins or profit turns to the average over time or the mean, and it becomes a fight for market share unless you're opening up new markets. Like Apple iPhone was a world beater technology that came out and changed the whole market structure. Other functional areas of business that must be market driven, and you can read through these, but remember, all business decisions use historical data, or they become historical data to make decisions about future events. We're trying to look into the future. So this should give you some a little bit of a spur your memory and do the necessary additional research, but this should get you going.